Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. We're diving straight in today, and we are embarking on a strictly fact-based investigation into what is, without a doubt, the ultimate archival mystery. We're looking at a specific document, formerly known as MS408. And let me tell you, this artifact completely challenges the absolute boundaries of what we actually know about historical analysis.
So picture this. We're starting our journey with a pretty fundamental question. What actually happens when the world's absolute best, most comprehensive historical translation tools just fail, completely fail? I mean, imagine having the keys to literally thousands of years of recorded human history, massive archives of dead languages, ciphers, complex shorthand, and then finding this one door that simply refuses to unlock. That is the exact stage for our inquiry today.
Section 1. Deciphering Historical Archives.
Okay, so before we look at the anomaly itself, let's establish our scientific baseline, right? Historians usually rely on these incredibly vast databases, like the Odd Fontes project from the University of Zurich. This tool is amazing. It provides digital archives and transcription training for Latin, German, French, and Nordic texts. It even hooks into Capelli Online, which is this massive searchable database of historical abbreviations. With these tools, scholars can confidently read centuries-old medieval documents. They can decipher complex shorthand and tricky regional dialects with extreme precision. The main takeaway here, we know how to read history. We are really good at it.
Which brings us to Section 2, introducing MS408.
But what happens when you pivot from that proven, rock-solid toolkit to an artifact that completely defies it? Meet MS408. Notice this incredibly vibrant blue flower, that bulbous root structure, and all those dense blocks of text just wrapping around it. Here's the crazy part. Despite our massive databases of Latin, despite our knowledge of historical shorthand, and despite Capelli's thousands of documented abbreviations, this specific text remains entirely unreadable. Not a single word on this page, or actually any other page in the entire manuscript, corresponds to any known human language or historical script. Nothing.
Section 3. The Botanical Illustrations. Well, when we can't read a text, we basically have to become meticulous archivists. We have to analyze the purely visual evidence. You've got these varying green, leafy plants with really distinct root systems, contrasted with these super intricate red floral structures. And the highly structured nature of these botanical drawings is just fascinating. The illustrator focused entirely on observable biological details. You know, the leaves, the stems, the roots, the flowers. They were documenting physical features without relying on any sort of apparent fantasy or magical lore. It's totally objective.
Now, to process this kind of visual data, a botanist or an archivist goes through very precise, systematic steps. Step 1, you examine the root structure. Is it fibrous? Is it a taproot? Bulbous? Step 2, you analyze the leaf patterns. Are they serrated, smooth, alternating? And then, step 3, you attempt to match that specific combination to known terrestrial flora. It is a rigorous process of elimination based entirely on observable facts.
So let's actually apply that method right now. Look at this super detailed spiraling root structure and those jagged green leaves. MS408 completely blends these familiar, everyday organic shapes with completely unrecognizable plant species. It is meticulously drawn, it's clearly deliberate, and honestly, biologically plausible. Yet, as a whole, it absolutely resists exact classification into any single known plant species on Earth. It's like a giant biological puzzle.
Moving on to Section 4, Astronomy and Astrology. As the manuscript shifts away from terrestrial botany to the celestial sphere, just guide your eyes through this magnificent star chart. We can observe a highly deliberate radial organization here. That unknown text actually spirals outward from the center, perfectly following the curvature of the concentric circles. The visual hierarchy is just undeniable. It strongly suggests a systematic recording of celestial or maybe temporal data.
Notice those central blue motifs, completely surrounded by meticulously radiating text and these little golden stars? By cataloging these factual design choices, we slowly build a profile of what the author was trying to do. They were clearly categorizing something complex, something radial, and they were doing it with immense care and precision. We really don't need to invent any fantastical astronomical theories here. The factual geometric structure itself is an absolute marvel of medieval information design.
Let's zoom in on this specific detail. We have a 7-pointed blue star motif right at the center, and it's connected by these little tethers to the surrounding stars and text blocks. This completely reinforces the manuscript's incredible internal consistency. The artistic, deliberate nature of these connections implies a really clear relationship between the central object and its satellites. It is a precise diagram, plain and simple. It's just locked behind an unbreakable cipher.
Section 5. The pharmaceutical drawings. Transitioning from those grand celestial charts, we find this fascinating juxtaposition of organic and artificial elements. Check out these detailed, vibrant drawings of roots and isolated plant parts right next to these highly decorated, incredibly unnatural containers. I mean, they look exactly like complex stacked apothecary jars or chemical vessels. The biological meets the manufactured. It strongly implies some kind of structured process of extraction or maybe medicine making.
And the distinct features of these pages just stand out immediately. You've got these cylindrical, highly decorated containers, you have isolated plant parts that have been totally separated from the whole plant, and it's all arranged in these neat, structured rows. This is a massive contrast to the wilder, full-page botanical illustrations we were looking at earlier. The visual structure has changed dramatically to indicate a totally different type of organized information.
Which leads us to Section 6, the cryptic script.
Now, to truly understand the difficulty we're facing, we have to understand historical encryption. Here's an illustration of a speculum cipherdesk. Cryptographers use tools exactly like this as a benchmark to analyze codes. In traditional archives, ciphers almost always follow mathematical rules, substitution patterns, or specific linguistic frequencies. Modern algorithms and historical cryptanalysis can break almost any historical cipher just by finding the underlying language's statistical heartbeat.
And that brings us to the ultimate problem. On one side, we have our known archives, like the Ad Fontes project, detailing Latin, German, and standard abbreviations that all predictably follow established linguistic rules. On the other side, MS408, a completely unique, looping script with zero known matches anywhere in human history. Sure, it possesses some statistical features of natural language, but it doesn't match Latin, it absolutely doesn't match shorthand, and it entirely defies computational brute force. It's a wall.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought. If our most advanced tools, our massive digital databases, and our absolutely greatest computational decryption methods cannot decode this meticulously crafted artifact, what are the true limits of modern historical analysis? MS408 stands as a factual, magnificent reality. It requires absolutely zero fantasy or made-up speculation to be utterly fascinating. The profound mystery is entirely real, it is physical, and it is waiting right there on the parchment. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep analyzing the facts, and I'll catch you next time.